Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet. Hare Krishna. So Deutsch ist okay? Nee, ne, ist Deutsch, Englisch wahrscheinlich. So, Deutsch, wer spricht kein Englisch? 2. Who doesn't speak German? So, 2 against 2. Und wer ist unser prädestinierter Übersetzer? You prefer to translate into English or German? Into German? From English into German better, huh? Okay, okay. Then we'll speak English. Can I have the English Bhagavatam? Okay, we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, King Prithus' 100 horse sacrifices. And text 13 or 14? 13. Please repeat. Atrinam ko chodito hantung Pritu Putro Maharataha Anvadavata Shankrudhas Tishtam Tishteti Chabravit Atrina Chodito Hantung Prito Putro Maharataha Anvadavata Shankrudhas Tishtatishtetī Chabravit Atrina Chodito Hantung Prito Putro Maharataha Anvadavata Sankrudhas Tishtatishtetī Chabravit Atrina Chodito Hantung Prito Putro Maharataha Anvadavata Sankrudhas Tishtatishtetī Chabravit Atrina Chodito Hantum Ladies. Atrina Chodito Hantum Prito Putro Maharataha Anvadhavata Sankrudhas Tishtatishtetī Chabravit Atrina Chodito Hantum Prito Putro Maharataha Anvadhavata Sankrudhas Tishta tishteti cha bhavit. Atrina chodito hantum. Prito putro maharataha. Anvadhavata sankrudas. Tishta tishteti cha bravit. Word by word. Atrina, by the great sage Atri. Choditaha, being encouraged. Hantum, to kill. Pitruputraha, the son of King Prithu. Maharataha, a great hero. Anvadhavata, followed. Sankrudaha, being very angry. Tishta tishta, just wait, just wait. Iti, thus. Cha, also. Abravit, he said. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the son of King Prithu was informed by Atri of King Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, "Wait, wait!" Purport. The words Tishta Tishta are used by a Kshatriya when he challenges his enemy. When fighting, a Kshatriya cannot flee from the battlefield. However, when a Kshatriya, out of cowardice, flees from the battlefield, showing his back to his enemy, he is challenged with the words Tishta Tishta. A real Kshatriya does not kill his enemy from behind, nor does a real Kshatriya turn his back on the battlefield. According to Kshatriya principles and spirit, one either attains victory or dies on the battlefield. Although King Indra was very exalted, being the king of heaven, he became degraded due to his stealing the horse intended for sacrifice. Therefore, he fled without observing the Kshatriya principles, and the son of Prithu had to challenge him with the words Tishta Tishta. Om Agyana Timirandasya Giranjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Namo Prabhupada Priyarasaya Jagannatha Yatrananda Murtaye Bhakta Sukaya Krishnot-kirtanena Nrisinghe Narakshataaya Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchatyade Shatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Namane Shri Varsha Vanavidevi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnanadayini Prabhave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Sankarshana Karanato Yashai Garbhodashai Chapayobdishai Sheshascha Kala Sanityanandakyarama Sharanam Mamastu Namo Mahavaranjaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Ghoratvise Namaha Namaste Halagraha Namaste Mushalayuda Namaste Revatikanta Namaste Bhaktavatsala Namaste Dharanidhara Namaste Balanam Shishta Pralamvare Namaste Stvehimam Krishna Purvaja He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopipakanta Radhakanta Namostute Jayatam surato pangor mamamanda matirgati matsarvasva padamvajo radhamadana mohano divyat vrindaranya kalpadrumada srimadatangara simhasanasto Srimadrada Srila Govinda Deva Uprashtalivi Savamana Smarami Srimandra Sarasaramvi Vamsivatatastitaha Karsham Veno Sonar Gopi Gopinatha Shri Estunaha Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once again the verse. Atrina charito hantum pritu putro maharataha anvadavat shankudhas tishtatishtheti chabravit. When the son of King Prithu was informed by Atri of King Indra's trick, he immediately became very angry and followed Indra to kill him, calling, "Wait, wait." So, the son of King Prithu here is described as being a Maharata. You heard about this, Maharata? Maharata? Huh? Yeah, Maharata. Rata means car, like Ratha Yatra, Maharata. So Maharata is a warrior. I forgot the exact classification, but if you are curious, you can Google it or read the Mahabharata. And also in some purpose, Srila Prabhupada mentions it. There are different classifications of warriors. So depending on the ability of a warrior to fight with many people, there are different classifications. So if you can alone fight with 10 people, with 100 people, against 1,000 people, against, I don't know, how many thousand people, there are different classifications. And Maharata is one of the highest. So a Maharata means, I forgot the exact, but I think a Maharata, with his chariot, he can fight against, I don't know, 100 other chariots, something like this. Maybe also against some 100 chariots and 10 elephants and 1,000 people, something like this. He alone, and he can win. So the son of Prithu Maharaj is a Maharata, or Maharati. Maharati is the person who is a Maharata. And so you know the story a little bit already, if you remember. But I will recap a little bit shortly still. So King Prithu is performing an Ashvamedha Yajna. So Ashvamedha Yajna. What is an Ashvamedha Yajna? Yes. Ashva is a horse. Ashvamedha Yajna. Horse sacrifice. In the Vedas there is also description of Gomedha Yajna. Cow sacrifice. I thought we were vegetarians. I thought the cows are holy. So how is it that we're doing Gomedha Yajna and Ashvamedha Yajna? So the Ashvamedha Yajna and the Gomedha Yajna, and also sometimes also smaller animals like goat might be sacrificed. And this is a very ancient tradition. And when you do a sacrifice, it's called Bali. Bali. And we have around the temple, we have Bali Pitams. We have in each corner, in the Dikpalas, the 8 directions, we have Balis. And also in front of the temple, we have a Bali. You see this lotus with a flat area on top. So actually, this is an offering altar. You can offer rice, you can offer puri. Sometimes we do. Ramananda does usually once a month. He does on the right nakshatriya. On the right titi, he offers, rice and puri, Mahaprasadam from Nisingadev to the on the Bali Pitam. But the Bali Pitam also was used. You put the neck of an animal there, on the surface, and chakapam. So it's a Bali, it's a Pitam. It's a place to offer. You can offer a neck or a puri or rice. And so what is the logic behind this Bali? Bali is very, very different than killing an animal. When you make an Ashvamedha Yajna or a Gomedha Yajna, or any form of Bali, because there are some traditions, especially when you worship Kali, in the Puranas, there is a description how you can kill an animal and offer this animal as Bali, as an offering to Kali. So when you do that, first of all, you need to find an animal that is completely perfect. Completely perfect animal means nothing should be missing. No part of the body should be missing, not even a hair, basically. It is described. And there is this famous story you might have heard of this king. This king was a little bit impatient king, and he had an advisor, a brahmana, who was very patient. And the king was getting more and more annoyed because the brahmana, whatever happened, something, because when you have a kingdom, always something will go wrong, Something will go wrong. Like even we have a small temple here, relatively small temple. Always there is some problem. This problem, that person. Always some problem. So, and then the king will always ask the brahmana, "Why is this happening?" And then the brahmana would say, "Everything that Krishna does is good." And the king is like, "Okay." And then next thing happened, "Everything that Krishna does is good." Okay, Then next problem, the next big tragedy, and then the brahmana, he's like, "Brahmana, why is this happening? Everything that Krishna does is good, And he's becoming more and more, impatient and annoyed, This brahmana, he doesn't know anything, He only learned this one sentence, and he's repeating the same sentence again and again and again. So he became very annoyed, more and more annoyed with this brahmana. Everything that Krishna does is good, this is nonsense, So then one day the king was training sword, training with the sword, and then bam, he cut his finger, half finger gone, cut, And he goes to the brahmana, "See, you were going to say again, everything that Krishna does is good, now my finger is gone." And brahmana, "Yes, everything that Krishna does is good." And he's like, "Okay, you go to the jail." So he put the brahmana to the jail, And the brahmana, "Okay, no problem." Sitting in the jail, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Everything that Krishna does is good, no problem. And then the king went sometime later, he went hunting, Usually, when he went hunting, he always went with the brahmana. The brahmana would be his companion. This time he went alone, He went alone hunting. And then some Kali worshippers, some Kali worshippers, they found him, Say, "Oh, very nice offering for Kali. A king, what could be better than a king, Big king, nice kshatriya, strong build, Let's capture him, let's offer him to Kali, So they captured him, They captured him and they took him to the temple of Kali in the jungle, And they wash him, then everything, and then they prepare, just like you go in the kitchen, you make, you wash the vegetables, before the offering, So they wash the king, nice cleaning, hair cleaning, and then, finger is missing, useless, bam, they kick him out, Go away. You're useless, we cannot use you, So they kicked him away, and he's running home, And he go to the brahmana, you're right, Krishna, everything Krishna does is good, otherwise they would have killed me, And then he's like, "But why Krishna allowed that? You are such a nice brahmana, you're always, so patient, you have so much faith in Krishna. How can Krishna allow that I put you in jail, And he's like, "Yeah, otherwise I come with you, they offer me, Simple, everything Krishna does is good. You have to just have some trust, So, yes, so sometimes it's difficult to understand, why Krishna is doing things. And but the point I was trying to say is about Bali. When you make a Bali offering, it should be perfect. Also, when we offer something for Nisingadev, if you're a Pujari helper and fruit is a little bit bad, you're like, okay, no problem. It's like, no. Only the best. And should be clean, nicely. Only the best should be an offering. Of course, we understand from the Bhagavad Gita that the main ingredient ultimately is bhakti. Main ingredient is bhakti. But if you don't have pure bhakti, we can show our bhakti by making the best offering possible, Like they say, love is shown in the detail, If you take a time to make something detail, means you put your love, your time, to do something nicely. So, for an Ashvamedha Yajna, which is also a form of Bali, an offering, the animal has to be perfect. Not only that, before the ceremony, of course, the animal is cleansed. They wash the animal, and then they give initiation to the animal. The animal get diksha. Yes. So you cannot just offer any animal, like in slaughterhouse. See an animal, attack, next one. It's horrible. This is not proper. The animal receive initiation, so means you need to be qualified to give diksha to an animal, I don't know how to do that, I don't know if the horse has to give some vows also maybe, But you need to give initiation to the animal. The animal is then, ready to be sacrificed. And as the part of the sacrifice, the animal which is killed receives a new body, There are certain type of mantras that enable the animal to immediately receive a new body. So actually it's beneficial for the animal. It can exchange an old body for a new body. So if you cannot do that, then you will incur the karma of killing an animal. So this Ashvamedha Yajna is not, because some people misunderstand it. Some people use it, they say, look, in Vedic times, they do Gomeda Yajna. Means people in Vedic times, they were eating cows, And afterwards, Buddhism came, and then Vaishnavas copied from Buddhism, now they became vegetarian. Some people will say like this, that actually Hinduism is not vegetarian, Because some Hindus are not vegetarian. And the reason is, Prabhupada also explains, you cannot expect all sections of society to become vegetarian. Prabhupada is actually quite pragmatic in that connection, He says, because very often Prabhupada talks about, Krishna consciousness. Ideally, you have a king who is, Krishna's conscious king, or we speculate maybe we will, ISKCON will take over the world, So if ISKCON is the government, what is the rule, No meat eating anymore, no gambling, like King Parikshit, But when we read the Shastra, we understand that the king actually understands that there are different people, and you encourage people to raise to the highest platform, of Vaishnava Brahmana, or minimum Brahmana, or Vaishya. Depending where you are, you have to, upgrade yourself. Ultimately, the main upgrade is to become a Vaishnava. No matter in which position you are in society, if you're a Shudra, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, a Brahmana, or even outside, we are not even inside of the Varna system actually. Technically speaking, we are Mlechas, Javanas, outside of the Varna system. But everybody can become a Vaishnava, And by becoming a Vaishnava, we become, we don't need to gradually from one life to the next improve our situation. We can actually directly, by offering our work, our talent, our time and energy to Krishna, directly. You can be a very good Shudra, Vaishnava, and you can directly go to Krishna. Because the technical understanding is that actually from one life to the next you become better and better. The Madhva Sampradaya, they have this idea. Shri Shri Prahlad Lakshmana Singari Bhagwan Ki Jai. Even we are part of the Madhva Sampradaya, we have actually, since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a different conclusion than Madhva Sampradaya. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually is a very unique, actually it's a blend of all four Sampradayas. All four Vaishnava Sampradayas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu merged into his Sampradaya actually. Or he took items from each Sampradaya. Because the Madhva Sampradaya, they are very technical advancement, you could say. So you are a very good Shudra, you become a good Vaishya. You're a very good Vaishya, next life you become a good Kshatriya. The next life you become a good Brahmana, you're a good Brahmana. Next life you can go to Svarga Loka, then Tapaloka, Mahaloka, then you end up in Satya Loka. You live for a few billion years with Brahma, then you go to the spiritual world. So it takes a long time. And they have a very strong, idea of the caste system, very rigid in their understanding. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and also a few other things, because the Madhva Sampradaya, they have also a different understanding of Nitya Bada, and sometimes you will read similar things also in the purports, somebody who's conditioned. But the Madhva Sampradaya, they actually emphasize that some people will never be liberated, and some people will be for eternal time in hell, a little bit like the Christians even, because the philosophy of Madhvacharya was Dvaita, very strong dualism. But in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, you could say, conclusions, or in the moods that he preached, and also when we hear devotees like, I think it was Vasudev Ghosh, or Vasudev, I forgot his name, but he said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I take the sins of all the living entities, Vasudev Datta, yes, Vasudev Datta. And everybody should be liberated. So that's our mood. That's the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is different than the mood in the Madhva Sampradaya. And how do I get here? I forgot now. I wanted to say something else actually. What was I saying before? Yes, center of Sampradayas, and Bali, and I lost my red thread. I went too far away on a side branch. But yes, the topic we have is about Bali, that when horse sacrifice is being performed, or a Gomeda Yagya, even a cow is sacrificed, or other animals, the animal is chosen properly, the animal is even initiated, is giving diksha, and then a qualified person will chant the right mantras, and this animal will receive a new body. So this is not normal animal killing, and yes, I was talking now. I remember, because the point is that nowadays many people. Either they try to portray that the Vedic times people were not vegetarian, because you find this, mentions of animal sacrifices, or in modern times they open a slaughterhouse, in this name. Prabhupada a few times said that in Calcutta there was one famous slaughterhouse, Kali slaughterhouse, but that's not the idea, And even worshippers of Kali who understand this principle, they will do Bali with a pumpkin, instead of a goat. It's also quite common. They take a pumpkin and they sacrifice a pumpkin instead of a goat. So Prithu Maharaj was performing the Ashvamedha Yajna, and not one, but 100, 100 horses, 100 horses, in a consecutive sequence, quite, spectacle. You can imagine, such a, Ashvamedha Yajna. And when somebody performs 100 Ashvamedha Yagyas, he can become Indra. You can become the king of heaven. So Indra was counting, It's like 1, 2, 3, okay, no problem, 10. 50, okay, 70, okay, 80, 90, 95, oh God. So he got scared, and he became very envious. So Indra is the personification of a Mishra Bhakta. Technically, he is a devotee of the Lord. He is a devata. He is on the side of the good people, you could say. But at the same time, his bhakti, or his devotion to the Lord is mixed, with jnana, karma. So he has, a very strong, conditioning, in that connection. And in many, many parts of the Bhagavatam, Indra actually is the the person who commits a grave mistake. And this is very interesting because if you read the especially the Rig Veda, but in generally in the Vedas, Indra is exalted. Like many samhitas, many hymns, are in glorification of Indra. Indra, the king of heaven. Indra is also blonde. He's got blue eyes. He looks like a German. Typical Aryan German. Stereotypical. So he's praised a lot in the Vedas. Indra, the king of heaven, the leader of all the devatas. And in the Bhagavatam, his faults are shown. That even he's in such an exalted position, actually he commits regularly very grave mistakes. So one example is here, and another example, of course, is the Govardhan Lila, where he becomes envious of Krishna, diverting his offerings, to Govardhan instead of, being given to him. He becomes very angry, and is ready to kill, basically, all these innocent village people and the cows and everything, And then there's other examples of Indra, when Indra had this, you could say, competition or fight against Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj is the grandchild of Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj. So he's a very powerful personality, and his grandfather is a great devotee. So naturally, also he had some inclination, but at the same time he was the king of the demons. Since Prahlad Maharaj was the son of Hiranyakashipu, a Daitya, so he also was a demon. Bali Maharaj became successful because he was a very good disciple. He was a very good disciple, and he had the blessings of his guru. And Indra was not successful, or was defeated by Bali Maharaj, because Indra was, I forgot the exact circumstance, but he committed a mistake or an offense against his guru, Bhrigu Muni. So, Brihaspati. So Brihaspati was not so pleased with Indra. Indra lost the blessings of his guru, and then Bali Maharaj was able to completely destroy and kick out, Indra from heaven. So, like that, Indra regularly commits mistakes, and in one sense, it's also inspiring because we might also realize that we are not pure devotees. We might have some Indra tendencies. That I like Krishna. I'm a devotee, but maybe you forget sometimes. You get confused. And you make a mistake. And you can always ask forgiveness. So after the Govardhan Lila, Indra brought Surabhi cow and was, bathing Krishna with milk. It's like, please forgive me. So, and Krishna, forgave. Krishna forgave Indra. But at the same time, also we can understand that because Brahma, for example, he also committed a mistake. He's the head of our sampradaya, and he also, in the Brahma Vimohana Lila, he clearly misunderstood who Krishna is. And this is also very interesting difference we have with the Madhva Sampradaya. The Madhva Sampradaya, they do not study the Brahma Vimohana Lila. This chapter is all black covered. You cannot read it. It's a big apparata to read Brahma Vimohana Lila in the Madhva Sampradaya, because Brahma is the guru. And if you read the Brahma Vimohana Lila, you might make guru aparada, and you might think, Brahma, look what he did, so they take it very seriously like that, So you cannot, Brahma Vimohana Lila is not discussed, in the Madhva Sampradaya. And but we understand from the descriptions of the Goswamis and also in the Bhagavatam it is described that actually Krishna, even he accepted the apology of Brahma and the prayers of Brahma, he was a little bit embarrassed, because he was, he knew that his friends are looking, So his friends are basically thinking or saying to Krishna, who is this weird four-headed guy? What are you doing with him? What is he doing? He's kneeling in front of you, and he's like, what is he doing? It's strange, Now imagine you're playing with your friends, and suddenly one of your friends, some guy comes with four heads, and starts crying, and asking for forgiveness, It's like, that's strange, So Krishna actually felt embarrassed, It's like, Brahma, okay, I forgive you. Stop, okay, it's okay, He felt embarrassed in front of his friends that Brahma was offering prayers to him. So we can understand that there are different levels of devotees, Brahma is certainly a devotee, a very exalted devotee. We are, nowhere near his qualification. But at the same time, we understand that the residents of Vrindavan, they have the highest position. They have the absolute highest position. So Krishna, a simple cowherd boy in Vrindavan is more exalted than Brahma, or Indra. Clearly, certainly. So, yes, Indra was afraid and envious, in this case, of Prithu Maharaj. He was afraid that Prithu Maharaj will take his position. And it actually is described in the Bhagavatam that Prithu Maharaj did not have the ambition, actually. It was not the ambition of Prithu Maharaj to, unthrone Indra and take the position of Indra. He was just doing the Ashwamedha Yajna to establish, his position as a king. But nonetheless, Indra did not want to take the risk, And there's a few examples like that also. And sometimes great sages, they meditate for a very long time, and Indra knows, okay, if they meditate for a few years longer, they will also take my position, They become too powerful, So then he sends an apsara, beautiful apsara, and they're very elaborate descriptions in the Puranas. Apsaras are extremely beautiful, extremely beautiful. The Radha Govinda Prabhu, I don't know exactly where he got it from, but Radha Govinda Prabhu always talks about this classification of beauty. And it's, or maybe Prabhupada says in some purport, I'm not sure. But it says the most beautiful lady in this planet, in comparison to somebody from Svarga Loka, looks like a frog, they say. Or another classification which is also mentioned, which is more elaborate, that's the one Radha Govinda Prabhu mentions, is that the highest pleasure on this planet would be if you are young, if you are all-powerful, you control the whole planet, you're the ruler of the whole world, you're popular, you're intelligent, you have bodily strength, stamina. So that's like cool, This amount of pleasure people experience in Svarga Loka just by touching each other. You embrace somebody, you give somebody the hand, and you have the same amount of pleasure, in Svarga Loka. And then in Svarga Loka, of course, Indra is the king. He's the most powerful person. He's the leader of all the demigods. And the pleasure Indra experiences, people in Brahma Loka, in Satya Loka, experience just by looking at each other. And then, of course, in Brahma Loka, Brahma is the head of the universe. He is, the one with most power, influence, and we can imagine what kind of, pleasure he can experience. But even the pleasure of Brahma is considered to be a drop in comparison to Brahmananda, freedom of material attachments. And then Brahmananda, or impersonal liberation, is again, a drop in comparison to the ocean of Prema Bhakti. So, yes, the amount of pleasure we experience in this world actually is very, very crude, or very gross, you could also say. Very crude, very gross. It's not something very amazing. Radha Govinda Prabhu always used to say, it's like you have a big feast, Janmastami, Mahaprasadam, big Mahaprasadam feast, And then somebody comes in, look, a raw potato, who wants a raw potato, Everybody's like, no interest, So that's, the pleasure we experience in this world in comparison to the pleasure that is available in higher planets or Brahmaloka, or ultimately, the transcendence is beyond imagination. We cannot even compare or imagine, But still, we are licking our raw potato and think, wow, amazing, it was so amazing. I want more of it. I can't let go of my raw potato, because we have nothing else, So the moment you have French fries, then you can let go of raw potato, So this principle is there, that we can always experience a higher taste, and by experiencing a higher taste, we can let go of a lower pleasure. So yes, Indra tries to distract, these sages, who are meditating. They're performing tapasya. They're trying to be atmaram, completely happy within themselves. And in one sense also, of course, they're put to the tests, if they really are achieved, Brahmananda. But very often they're not, They see this beautiful apsara and they are distracted. So they give up their meditation and they engage, in pleasure pastimes with the apsara. So this is one, trick. And I don't remember exactly, but I think there was some purport here before where Prabhupada also is talking about Indra like that. Yes, somewhere here it's for sure. That Indra tries different things like that, But he realized with Prithu Maharaj he cannot do anything, He realized Prithu Maharaj is technically he's a Shaktiavesha avatar, he's an incarnation of the Lord, so he cannot distract him that easily, So his only chance was, okay, I'm going to steal the horse, He just, and he just steal the horse. And I think he did it a few times, no? 2 times, It's like he stole the horse. And not only that, the main, you could say, fault, or you could say negative tradition that Indra started is that he dressed himself as a sadhu, He dressed himself as a sadhu when he was stealing the horse, in such a way that nobody would be suspicious of him, And then Prabhupada elaborates that this is the reason why we have nowadays false gurus or false sannyasis, So because people think, yeah, that's, if Indra did it, we can also do it, You just change the dress, and you pretend to be something you're not, And in general, this is also considered to be one of in the 12th canto of Bhagavatam, this is one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, that people will dress, in a way that they look holy, but they're not really holy. So, or people respect somebody because of the dress, Something like this also is described. So, just because somebody is dressing nicely, putting nice tilak and everything, it's like, oh, okay, he must be a holy person, But we're in Kali Yuga, you never know, And even Prabhupada himself a few times, says, there's a sinister movement within our movement, There are Kali Chelas in our movement, he says, It means there are people who are serving Kali at the age of Kali, not serving Krishna, But they look like real devotees, And one example of this is actually Keshava Maharaj, not our Swayam Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj in Prabhupada's times. He's not so well known, but he was the GBC of the area where New York Temple was. Sannyasi, very successful devotee preacher. And after Prabhupada left, he sold the big temple devotees ISKCON had in Manhattan. ISKCON had an 11-story building in Manhattan. In Manhattan, I forgot exactly which avenue, but it's very central. 11-story building, extremely valuable. Nowadays, it's unimaginable. He sold it, and he bought the Brooklyn Temple, which is an old synagogue, where the U-Bahn, the metro, is running right under the temple room. So you're in the kirtan, and then everything shakes. Even if you're in the ashram, you still feel the shaking of the metro, And he said he wants to, we have to buy a farm, and something like this. And then he disappeared. He was gone, never to be seen again. And many, many years later, some devotee met him in an airplane, sitting in a plane, they're like, "Hey, Keshav Maharaj, what are you doing here? How you're looking a little bit different." And then Keshav Maharaj admitted that he was an agent. He was put there to take away the building from ISKCON. So Kalichela, he looked perfect devotee, sannyasi, everything. So this tradition was started by Indra. It says, he was the first one who dared to do that. To be just cheating. Pretend to be something you're not. Or hide your sins behind the dress of a holy person. So we should be self-reflective also, that we, whatever is external, we should also, of course, in another sense, Kalamakana Maharaj always talked about how dressing in this way, also compels you to behave in a certain way. And this is described also by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that this is the, you could say, Putana syndrome, So we know Putana. She also dressed very nicely. She looked like a beautiful, everybody thought she's a goddess, from the heavenly planets, she wants to see Krishna. But in reality, she was a witch who wanted to kill Krishna, But because she, appeared like a very wonderful person, she behaved like a wonderful person, And also to Krishna very nicely, to her arm, and offer her breast, very nicely, So Krishna took this offering, and Putana actually had a benefit. She became a mother in the spiritual world. It's described. So Krishna killed her, but she became a mother. Krishna actually accepted her service. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the Putana represents the false guru. So Keshav Maharaj, even he was pretending to be a sannyasi, he was pretending very good, He was chanting his rounds, he was reading the books, So he had a benefit, certainly, Every false guru has a benefit. So even if we pretend, there's still a benefit, But of course, it's better if, devotion should be honest, and well-meaning, it's described, with a good intention, then of course it's ideal. Okay, I'll stop here. Maybe there is some questions, comments. Yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you for lecture. I have actually two questions, but one is concerning meat eating. You mentioned that Prabhupada said that you mentioned that he was pragmatic regarding that not all people will stop eating meat.
Mm-hmm.
But how can we understand or expect even as the movement that this is our core principles? So how can we...
Yeah, so within our movement, we do not tolerate meat eating. That's for sure. Within our movement, But our movement, as Prabhupada said, he wanted to train brahmanas, ultimately Vaishnava brahmanas, But he wanted to establish Brahminical civilization and culture, and that certainly means no meat eating. But for the for people in general, Srila Prabhupada sometimes used to say that they can even eat the cow, but they should wait until it dies naturally. And otherwise they can eat other meats. This, in the Bhagavatam there is, I forgot which canto, there's a description, which kind of hoof animals you can eat. So, yes, you can expect that some people will not be able to give up meat eating, but cows are protected, And that's also generally, you could say, Hindus. There are many Hindus who are not vegetarian, but if they're good Hindus, of course, we're in Kali Yuga, there are also Hindus who eat cows. But generally, they could say, socially acceptable within Hinduism is you can eat chicken, you can eat anything, but not cows. Cows you don't kill. And if you do, then many Hindus also will think you're not a real Hindu. So Yes. So, and the idea is, the point is that the Puranas are also set up in this way. The Puranas are set up in a way that people are picked up wherever they are. You know? So it's not that you leave people in ignorance and don't give them information. So you encourage them in the right direction, but you don't force them straight away to give up everything. You know? So there should be encouragement. And nowadays, of course, there's even like there's many logical people who just have basic moral, you know, or people who have environmental concerns. You know, they understand we should stop eating meat. You know, so that's why veganism is becoming so big, you know, and so popular. So, but at the same time, many vegans, they create like you could say like a duality, very strong duality, you know, because many vegans are very militant, you know, and very aggressive, you know. They go in front of the McDonald's, you know, and they're protesting and screaming at the people, you know, and then the people come out and they eat the burger in front of their face, and you know, like big conflict, you know, starting. So we don't do that, you know. We don't do that. We just try to give people the higher tastes, you know. And we understand that some people might be conditioned, you know, and we give knowledge, we give information. But our main concern is not making people vegan, you know, or vegetarians even, you know. Our main concern is making people Krishna conscious. And Srila Prabhupada even told even his devotees didn't do it, but he wrote to some devotees who were in the USSR, now if you don't find anything, you can't eat meat, you know. If there's nothing, you know. So he was not telling them, you know, okay, I'm really sorry, but you have to die, you know. You have to fast if there's no, you know, cauliflower, so there's only meat available. No, Prabhupada was pragmatic. He's like, okay, then you eat meat, you know, if nothing is available. You know? And Prabhupada also make a big distinction between hunting and slaughterhouses. You know? Prabhupada more or less said in a few purports that it's natural. It's a lifestyle. Some people go and hunt an animal and they eat it. You know, and usually when people do that, they have a very strong, you could say, like the many traditional, how you say, tribal people, or you know, people who live in the forest. They understand. You know, I'm going to kill this animal, so they pray. You know, or they have certain, you know, ritual they do. You know. They ask for permission to take their body and to take the leather to dress themselves, and so this is very different. You know, it's not sattva guna, and it's not, you know, something we would do as Vaishnavas, but it's very different than, you know, mass slaughterhouses. You know, where millions and billions of animals are killed. You know? Yes.
Thank you. And another question is. Regarding this Mishra Bhakti, or
yes,
so yeah, in my experience, also some tendencies different. So in different paths like Jnana or Karma Yoga, but how can we make it more clear, so more pure, this process of Bhakti? What's the best way?
In the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the last verse. So this verse is one verse. I forgot the Sanskrit now. Somebody knows it? 11:55, I think. But in this verse, this is the key verse, you know. And basically, it says that one should be friendly, you know, establish friendship with devotees. One should try to become free of the motivations of karma and jnana. I don't have a cell phone, also I can look it up. But maybe you can look it up. 11:55, you can read it out. This is considered to be one of the key verses to understand how we can get out of Mishra Bhakti. You know? Mishra Bhakti. And Mishra Bhakti might be mixed, you know, with sinful activities in the worst case, you know, or with jnana or karma. You know? So karma is already, it's you know, karma is good actually. Sometimes people don't understand, but karma is good. Karma means you're doing good things, you know. Vikarma is sinful, you know. So there might be Vikarma Mishra Bhakti, you know. somebody is sinful, even they are devotees, but they cannot, they have some tendencies they cannot overcome. Then there's karma mishra bhakta, where you are very attached to the results of your action. You're working, you're getting money, you are becoming successful, and you become very attached, to those things. And jnana mishra bhakti is more subtle. And in the Nectar of Devotion, it says that one should be careful with jnana, because jnana can make the heart hard. Two things are mentioned: tapas, too much austerity, and too much theoretical knowledge, makes you very hard-hearted. So it's important that we, and this tendency might be there, especially in the beginning. You learn all the rules and regulations, and Prabhupada also says it's good that we should be able to detect, what is wrong, what is right, But this is only as long good as it's, purifying us, If it leads to us becoming envious of other devotees, or, thinking ill of somebody who's not able to achieve a certain level, or you become, like classical example I experienced in the brahmachari ashram. Brahmacharis have to take cold shower, cold shower, at least at the end, You can take hot shower in the beginning, so that you clean yourself properly, but at the end you have to take cold shower. This is brahmachari, And then sometimes, you go to the shower and the floor is warm. Like, who did this, And you become very angry almost, I remember in brahmachari, some people will come out of the shower. Who took a warm shower? Somebody's in Maya here, Somebody's a weakling, So that's a clear sign that your tapasya is artificial, It means you're taking a cold shower, it's so difficult for you that when somebody else is only taking warm, you become like, why only I have to suffer, Everybody have to suffer with me together, otherwise I can't do it, So then it's a sign that it's too much tapasya, And also, same with knowledge, because you can find, when you have jnana, you know all the faults, The more knowledge you have, and that's Prabhupada once even used to say, he said, don't read the Hari Bhakti Vilas because you will go to hell. Because Hari Bhakti Vilas are all the rules and regulations to worship the deity, how you dress, which flowers you can offer, Like I was reading also once Hari Bhakti Vilas about the flowers, And it's like, we're making everything wrong, Because only certain flowers of a certain type even white flowers who have no smell, you can also not, no frag, you can also not offer, and certainly not red flowers, and certainly not flowers which have so many rules, So we have to trust that, we try to do, as nice flowers as possible, as much as devotion as possible, and Krishna will accept, because it's basically, if you can, it's good, if you can follow all the rules, it's good. But if we try to follow those rules, we will become crazy, So like that. So too much, like Hari Bhakti Vilas is a bona fide scripture, but if you become too attached to all the details of the scripture, you will criticize, all the pujaris, Vinurati Mataji, what are you doing? These flowers are not allowed to be offered, And she would start crying and be confused because, what should I do now, So like that, jnana can be, destructive also if it's not applied properly. Yes, Hare Krishna. Something else? Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.